Legend of Zelda. A great series. Reviews for this famous series goes over the top, or at least that's what the fans say. Speaking of fans, many Zelda fanboys and fangirls have tried to create their own timeline of the series. This is because the producers of the series were too lazy to do it themselves. But they deny many of the timelines that have been sent in, sending some pre-written letter back. Take Ocarina Hero 10 for example. But I have some astonishing news. I, Silver ZT69, am one of the many hordes of Zelda fans, and I have a theory. I have created, checked, and rechecked a timeline that I feel is very accurate of the 3D Zelda games. 3D! That means I will not be including the original Zelda, Zelda 2, Zelda 3, or the Oracle games, and so forth. It will be only the games leading up from Ocarina of Time, or, I should say, Skyward Sword. Speaking of Skyward Sword, I will probably split this into two videos, because of the fact that I will also state my opinions about Skyward Sword. This game isn't out until January, I think, so don't go looking for it in stores yet. Anyway, back to the topic of the timeline. There's basically only one timeline that has been accurate for the Zelda series. This timeline was created by Ocarina Hero 10, and as you can see, it is a split timeline, sort of like parallel universes. I'm not here to explain this timeline, so go check his videos out if you want more info on him. His timeline, however, was sent into Nintendo, but rejected with not even a second thought. But now there's another accurate timeline. Mine! Here it is, the 3D Zelda timeline. It starts with Skyward Sword, then Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks, and finally, Twilight Princess. Let's start my timeline with a brief theory of Skyward Sword. This is probably not going to be brief in reality. I'm going to say this now. This information may not be correct. It most likely isn't. The information you will be hearing in this video either derives from common sense or other Zelda fans who were obsessed enough to spend time researching it. So if I am wrong, don't sue me. Nintendo basically flat out said that Skyward Sword is a prequel to Ocarina of Time. And since Ocarina of Time is the second in my timeline, Skyward Sword has to be first. Story. Link is born in the land called Skyloft, and as its name suggests, it is in the sky. It's sort of like Angel Island from Sonic and City in the Sky from Twilight Princess smushed together, except it's not inhabited by talking hedgehogs or chicken people. Moving on, Skyloft resides above a land below, and that land below is ruled by evil. This land has to be Hyrule before the creation of the Triforce. And if evil rules supreme, who else can be in charge of it than no other than Lord Ganondorf himself? My guess is that in the course of this game, Link is given the Skyward Sword, which is really the Master Sword before it becomes the Master Sword, if you get my meaning. And Link goes down to Hyrule to purge it of evil. But look at the picture here. It shows Link with a shield, but no sword. And who the heck is that girl standing in front of him? Is that a cape she's wearing? Why does she have a diamond in her chest? What is this? But look at her for a moment. Now look at the Master Sword. That cape she's wearing looks just like the hilt of the Master Sword. And that diamond in her chest is just like the one on the Master Sword. I don't believe that is any simple coincidence. My guess is that this girl is the Skyward Sword in human form, and that this cape is actually wings. This girl probably is what enables Link to get from Skyloft to Hyrule. And at the end of the game, logically, she'll sacrifice her ability to become human and ultimately become the Blade of Evil's Bane. So in the end of the game, Link beats the living daylights out of the antagonist of the game, which has to be Ganondorf, and saves the day just like always. Real original. Next in the timeline is Ocarina of Time. And do I really have to explain the plot for you? If I do, you should stop watching this video because you don't understand anything about the Legend of Zelda series. Ocarina comes next because after being beaten in Skyward Sword, Ganondorf is reborn in the Gerudo clan and tries to seize power. But once again, he gets the crap beaten out of him by a certain time-traveling young Kokiri boy dressed in green, who wields the Blade of Evil Bane. Guess who? Then Majora's Mask arrives in the timeline, for obvious reasons. Reason number 1. Nintendo made this game as a direct sequel to Ocarina. Since Link is now a child again because he was given his childhood again by Zelda at the end of the previous game. Need I say more, hardcore Zelda fans? Then arrives the Wind Waker. In my opinion, one of the best Zelda games of all time. The beginning sequence of the game is a prologue that states an old kingdom, aka Hyrule, was overtaken by evil. But the evil man, Ganon, was sealed away by the Hero of Time, which is what everyone called Link in Ocarina. But that kingdom was flooded, and here is the Wind Waker. So, logically, this game fits right here in the timeline since it's after Ocarina, which means it must be after Majora's Mask, since that game is a direct sequel to Ocarina. Boy, that was a mouthful. Then comes Phantom Hourglass. Nintendo said this was a direct sequel to Wind Waker. The events in this game include Zelda and Link searching for and finding a new Hyrule for the people to populate. So all the other games take place in the new Hyrule, not the original. Get that through your thick skull! Next comes Spirit Tracks. I just put this pathetic excuse of a Zelda game in here because I had nowhere else to put it, and I really wouldn't be living up to my expectations for the timeline if I had avoided it. To end this crazy timeline comes Twilight Princess, or Toilet Princess, as some people have nicknamed it. Whichever floats your king of red lions. Twilight Princess ends it because it doesn't really have any connection to the other games, except the fact that the Temple of Time is a dungeon in the game. I believe that the Temple of Time is actually the original temple from Ocarina. So how would Link get to the temple since it's under tons of water? Well, I think that the entire Sacred Grove is a tear in time. Since the temple plays such a huge part in the entire series, possibly the original inhabitants of the original Hyrule cast a charm on it, so that the Master Sword could be used forever, whenever evil rose. But the millennia of wear and tear has done its toll on the place, so that's why the temple is in pieces when Link first goes there in Twilight Princess. Or Twilight, my bad. But when Link goes there, when the temple becomes the 8th dungeon of the game, Link travels back in time to when the temple is still in one piece, but consumed by evil. So that means Link goes from the present time in Twilight Princess all the way back to the events of Skyward Sword. That's just plain nutters.
The Legend of Zelda timeline for the 3D Zelda games. Many thanks to Ocarina Hero 10 for creating such a reliable split timeline. Thank you, man. It is awesome and very accurate. It was the inspiration for making this video. And to all other YouTubers and Zelda fans, I hope you found this timeline of mine at least somewhat helpful. So, Silver ZT69, signing off.